Jerry Agar and Toronto's breaking news, traffic and weather. NewsTalk 1010.
What a situation a bunch of people have found themselves in Etobicoke, and this happens from time to time. Going to buy into a condo building. It's not there yet, but you look at the plans, you look at the situation. Here's where it's located. Here's the price. Here are the drawings, what I'm going to receive. It's going to be a few years, but this is worth it. I'm buying in. And then the condo developer goes broke. Now what happens? Well, in the case of the story we're reading today, more than 200 condo buyers may actually lose their home. It seems a likelihood that they will lose their home. They paid for pre-sold condos, probably felt they'd made a heck of a deal as well as they watched the market increase in price. But now they'll get their money back, but that's it. And the condos they bought and waited years to move into will likely be sold off at much higher current market values by whomever steps in to complete the project. These are not people who are taking over and buying the contracts that were in place, as I understand it. These are people who would come and say, well, the thing's bankrupt. I'll buy it. And that's different, I believe. But Denise Lash, founder of Lash Condo Law, would know more than me. So here she is. Good morning.
Good morning.
These people are out of luck.
Yeah, I mean, it's a sad situation. I just wanted to let everyone know that it really doesn't happen that often. So we hear of these sensational cases, and it's a tragic story for these purchasers, but it doesn't happen that often. There are many condominium developments in the city of Toronto and Mississauga that proceed in the normal course, and these purchasers get their condominium units in the end. I
have a friend who just bought one. It's going to be 2019, I think, before that condo is ready, and sometimes it goes even longer than what you were first told, so there's a long time to wait. If you're going to do that, Denise, how do you know that you're dealing with somebody that can actually complete the building? They're amazingly expensive developments.
Yeah, well, I think what purchasers need to do, and I think that many may not do this because they're very excited about buying their first home, and you get all caught up in, the floor plans and the marketing drawings, but you can do your due diligence, and you should be checking out the developer and seeing what experience they have, whether they're new, whether it's their first condominium development, and they can check with the Ontario New Home Warranty Program, which is Tarion, and there are lists of developers, what developments they've done, and also whether there's a history of complaints. Now, there is something that we're hoping will help purchasers, and that's, the province of Ontario is looking at revising the Condominium Act. It may take place as early as this July, and in it, there will be regulations that will stipulate that purchasers should be getting a condominium guide, and it will be mandated, so all developers will have to give purchasers this guide. Hopefully, the guide will contain information so people know what they're getting into when they're buying a new condo.
Well, I guess, and I could be wrong about this, Denise, but I've sort of looked at it. I worry what might happen for my friend, and maybe I'm over-worrying. But for me, if I'm going to buy something, a condo, I want to see the condo. I want to know the building's been built.
Well, that's part of the problem is you're buying from floor plans. Unless you're buying an existing condominium building, those floor plans are subject to change. And again, purchasers, besides sort of looking at the floor plans, they should be contacting a lawyer to go through the documents and to point out all of these things. And I think that many do not because they don't want to spend the money on getting a lawyer to review it. It's not just the floor plan and things that you should be putting into your agreement, but it's also the condominium documents to know what you can and can't do in your condo once you move in.
In this case of the condo that has gone bankrupt, I guess, in Etobicoke, the local councillor, Mark Grimes, appeared on a promotional video for the condo project. That would make people feel they were safer, I think.
Well, I think that no one can really predict what happens with the development, that the developer intended to go forward and that there was an overrun in costs or for whatever reason, and they couldn't pay the costs. So that the lenders took over the project and they have to proceed to sell off the asset. And, unfortunately, the only thing that these purchasers can get is the return of their deposits. And the interest that they're entitled to at the moment is 0% because there's something in the Condominium Act and its regulations that says that deposits are returned at 2% below the Bank of Canada rate, which, as you know, these days is minimal, which means that there's no interest on those deposits that they get back.
I'm talking to Denise Lash, founder of Lash Condo Law. You've been doing condo law for some time, is that correct?
25 years of experiences.
Well, how different was the condo business when you first got into it?
Well, we didn't have as many developments going up, and so we've got more and more condo owners, more and more condo purchasers, and, of course, there's more and more legal issues. And that's, I think, one of the reasons that we are now going through a major overhaul of the Condominium Act and also Tarion. Things are changing, and that's on looking at consumer protection and figuring out ways to do it better.
When you first started, though, in the condo business in Toronto 25 years ago, did you have a situation where a lot of people would just say, what's a condo?
Yeah, I think that people were not that familiar. Most people were looking at buying a home. Now it's a good option for first-time home buyers, and it's an affordability issue.
Yeah, I just think that, we were used to you either had a home or an apartment. Owning an apartment wasn't something that we considered, and essentially that's what a condo is.
That's right, and there needs to be some sort of educational process for purchasers because people do move into condos, and even once they move in, they don't understand that it's a condominium and that there are rules and restrictions and that they own common areas with others in the building.
Well, you also have to be aware, I think, that the developer that you're buying from will only be responsible for that building for a short time after you move in because they will disassociate themselves legally with the building fairly quickly and move on to something else.
Yeah, so there's something called a turnover meeting in which the developer-controlled board, after the closing of all the units, then turns over control of the condominium corporation to the owners themselves. They elect their own boards. The developer has certain ongoing obligations. They do have an obligation, if it's brand new, to work with Tarion and to resolve some of the deficiencies. So that's ongoing, and that could be a 2 to 4 year process. So the developer is still involved, and they do guarantee the budget for the first year. So most condominium corporations will deal with the developer probably for 2 to 4 years after it's turned over.
And then after that, you can just fight among yourselves.
Yeah, and that is happening a lot lately. Whether it's the owners or the board or between board members, we're very busy these days dealing with conflict.
Founder of Lash Condo Law, Denise Lash. Good to have you.